Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to go through a little drawing in my sketchbook of a cityscape. You can see I've laid down a grid here in a two-point perspective. The left vanishing point is on the top left of the image and the other one is completely on the right, just outside of the frame. You could easily do this in a one-point perspective, keeping the one on the left and putting it wherever you want inside the frame, and letting go of the one that's on the right here. Then you would just keep your horizontals on the page. Pretty simple. Anyway, so I did this grid to be a guideline for what I'm going to do here. I'm going to be freehanding and making it up as I go. I don't have much of a plan, as always, and this is not so much the aim here is not so much to do a drawing as it is to practice. It's getting mileage on my pens, it's getting mileage in two-point perspective, it's getting practice flexing those creative muscles. So I'm not really focused on the end result so much. This is very much the process that matters in this one. I think it's healthy practice. I think everybody should do it. Let me know if that's the kind of stuff you do, or if that's the kind of stuff you're interested in seeing. So don't hesitate to leave a comment, and I'll be happy to answer in any way I can. Anyway, thank you for being here. Give a subscribe if you haven't yet. It really, really helps. And yeah, let's get in it. So the only real design idea I have at this point is that there's going to be a street reasonably wide on the left-hand side here. And so I'm starting my drawing on what will be the right side of that street. We're going to be doing a bunch of cubes, basic shapes, and refine them as we go. It's easier to start here on the left, because whatever I draw on the left will be covering what is on the right. And since I'm going straight to ink on this, it'll save me some trouble later. We're going to time-lapse a little bit as we draw the rough shapes of the buildings, and come back and talk about it in just a second. Hang on. So there you go. You can see that the buildings on the left are getting a little darker, and I'm using the lightest line on the right. The way I go with this is I always try to draw as lightly as possible and only darken the lines once I'm reasonably sure that they're going to be in that place. Reason again is because I'm drawing straight to ink, and that it's easier to fix or conceal a mistake if you used a very, very light line. I know I'll make a mistake. I've already made one, and I'll make it worse later with the outline, but we can still get away with it. Once again, this is improvised as we go, trying not to feel any pressure. It's not the result that matters, and I keep that in mind. So let's fill this up with a bunch of buildings of different shapes and sizes. I try to vary as much as I can while keeping it somewhat coherent. And yeah, that's about it. Let's time-lapse through this. Right, you can see the buildings taking shape here, and I'm going to put a little bit of detail and structure left and right. Again, keeping it very simple. So we're talking about cut lines, panels at an angle like here, that kind of stuff. I'm going to do my classic mistake here. Well, I would call it a mistake if I aimed at doing a proper drawing, but this is again just practice and mileage. And that is that the scale, the indication of scale will not be very clear in this drawing. You won't have anything recognizable such as a vehicle or persons or windows. But I hope that overall it comes out reasonably clear, mostly thanks to the street that's on the left side. So there we go. We're going to be putting a lot of cut lines to give the impression that the buildings are not one solid block but made of different bits. And yeah, those panels at an angle I was talking about. And keep going until it's time to put some outlines on this thing. Let's go. Alright, time for a bit of outlining, and my first mistake, right here. And I see it. That line is a little too long and goes in front of that tower-ish building on the right. So I'll come back and fix that later. Here I'm using my Papermate Flare, which I think is so easy to use and so forgiving. So I'm going to be doing a few, but then courage came, and I did use my brush pen, my Pentel brush pen, which I am terrified of using. But that's what these drawings are for. It's to practice without being too afraid of making mistakes. So you'll see when I take it out that my confidence will be somewhat shaken, and there'll be some really dirty lines, but that is the way to learn. All right, let's time lapse a little more through this and talk back in a second. So yeah, that little mistake I talked about, that line that should not be there, I decided to put some kind of panel here and make it quite dense. I'm going to put a lot of horizontal lines on it to try and mask this line that should not be there. I think it'll work in the end. It'll be lost in the rest of the image and won't attract attention, so it'll be good enough. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Okay, now I've taken my nemesis, the brush pen. I thought it'd be interesting not to time-lapse through the whole of it so you can see just how insecure I am with this thing and how it can make a fantastic line if you do it well and with confidence, and how it can mess up so easily if you hesitate or make a mistake. It's a great pen. It's just me who has to learn how to work with it. In my experience, in my little experience so far, I think that working reasonably fast and with more confidence than you should gives the best results. Every time I have to stop and think, like here, or try and correct something, it does not forgive you. But again, you know, this is practice, practice, practice. The more you use it, the better you get with it. And that's the same for every tool, so don't be too afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to ruin a drawing. It's just a drawing. And don't always try to make a masterpiece when you're drawing. Remember that you're always learning something when you draw, and that's what matters the most. Anyway, enough with the philosophy. Let's rush through the outlines and come back in a minute. Okay, that was about 25 minutes worth of time lapse, adding little things left and right. And now let's put some bluish, light, cool gray on this thing. Starting with the sky here. And I think I'll only be using 2, maybe 3, but I think 2 markers for the rest of the city. I'm going to be using a lighter shade for the sides of the buildings that are in the light, and a darker one for the ones in the shade. I don't think I'll be putting any cast shadows on this because, well, I got tired or lazy, however you want to see it. And although a drawing could always benefit from it, it wasn't that so much what I was focused on that day. So let's keep on going, and the next thing we'll do here is take the lighter shade of that bluish gray to put on the sides of the buildings that would be in the light. Here we go. So here we are with this shade blocked in. That's basically pretty much everywhere the light will be hitting. And I've left in white the panels and sides that will be in the shade. So we'll rush again through this a little bit because there's not much to say except that, yeah, light in the light, dark in the shadows. Here we go. I'll take a moment to thank you all for dropping by the channel. We've been growing a little bit. We're over 500 subscribers now, and I think that's wonderful. So thank you very much. If you haven't subbed yet, please hit that button and the little bell icon so you never miss one of my videos. I will try to upload every week. And next week we're going to dive into something a little more technical if I find the time. I have a 4.5 hour drawing I did. That will be more on the technical side and probably have more interesting comments on my side. So there you go. Thank you so much for dropping by. I hope you keep on enjoying the channel. Any comments you have either on my content, my drawings, my voice, my voiceover, anything, my editing, tips are welcome. So don't be afraid, leave a comment. Let's have a chat about it. And yeah, you guys have a great end of the week if you're watching this. And I will see you next one. Take care, folks. Thanks again. Bye-bye.